you let me know? Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us in this, our very first webinar of a series of presentations that we call Launch and Learn. This Launch and Learn series will take place every Thursday at between noon and 1 o'clock. And we more or less are planning to have about 2 months and a half of workshops, webinar series for you. The topics are diverse, and the presenters have been selected very carefully for you. These sessions on Launch and Learn have been put together in collaboration with Camacol and FIU Continuing Education. We want to thank Joe Chi and Italo Torrense with the Chamber of Commerce. Camacol is the Latin American Chamber of Commerce of Miami, and they are Camacol staff assist us in putting this together. My name is Jorge Sumaeta. I'm the Senior Director of Academic Planning and Accountability, Continuing Education, Dual Enrollment at FIU. A quick moment to do some housekeeping highlights before I turn it over to our presenter today. The first, number one, is that this webinar is being recorded. Second, that all microphones are muted. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen and enter your questions. All questions will be answered in the last segment of the webinar. We are allocating between 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how the presentation goes, for Q&A. Also, please, at the very end of the webinar, there will be a survey that will be popping up for you to provide us with your feedback in terms of the presentation, the timing, and so forth. This feedback is tremendously important to us in order for us to keep providing these webinars to you. Okay. Today, I don't want to take much time in terms of my piece in this webinar as a moderator, but I would like to share that what we are looking at today, the topic is applying emotional intelligence in unprecedented times. I mean, what a relevant issue in today's, or where we're living today, no? But I think anybody, any better professional to address this presentation than Dr. Teresa Albizu. And I'd like to bring Teresa Albizu to join me on the screen so I can introduce her to you. Dr. Albizu is a founder and co-president of R-A Pinnacle Group, which is a consulting firm that focuses on leadership, organization, and professional development. She brings 20 years of professional experience to the table. She has held faculty appointments, teaching courses in marriage and family therapy, and currently she maintains her private mental health practice that focuses on relational issues. Dr. Albizu is an alumni of the National Hispanic Leadership Institute and the Harvard Kennedy School of Government's Executive Education Program. She has a doctorate in education specializing in higher educational leadership Nova Southeastern University, a master's in marriage and family therapy from Albizu University, and a bachelor's in psychology from Florida State University. I cannot thank her enough for her being here today and touching and sharing with us her insights in this very relevant issue. With that said, let me bring to the screen Dr. Teresa Albizu.
Thank you, Jorge and Mili Maldonado and the rest of the FIU team for leading this webinar initiative to talk about important challenges impacting our lives and the well-being of our communities. Thanks as well to Common Cause for partnering in making this initiative possible. So I'm going to shut off my screen, my video here, and so we can focus on the presentation and the information that we have put together for you today. So let's get going. Just a moment, because we're having some technical difficulty. Here we go. Okay, good. All right, so we have a limited amount of time to discuss this very expansive concept of emotional intelligence. And I will try to focus on the salient information that may prove helpful to us in setting into motion a series of evidence-based strategies in practicing emotional intelligence. So we will briefly discuss what it means to live in a VUCA world, review what emotional intelligence is, discuss its components, present some strategies that we can practice to improve our emotional intelligence, and briefly tie emotional intelligence to the work of Dr. Carol Dweck on how successful people think. And then we will open it up for a question and answer period. So let's start. So most of us have some familiarity with the concept of emotional intelligence. However, why should we be talking about this now more than ever? Well, to train officers for the 21st century, the United States War College forecasted that the military and the business world needed to learn how to best make sense of the rapid challenges being felt worldwide as a result of the information era. And they described a world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, or VUCA for short. And today, VUCA also serves to describe the global impact that we are facing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we see that change happens rapidly on a large scale, that the future cannot be predicted with precision. Challenges are complicated by many factors, and there are few single causes or solutions. And there isn't sufficient clarity about what events mean and what effect they may have before becoming highly complex and difficult to manage. Now, we know that these VUCA conditions are impacting us in unprecedented ways. It's impacting our personal wellness, our ability to manage and sustain productive relationships with customers or clients, suppliers, etc., with our team members, given the changes that remote working has brought us, but we are also feeling a significant impact within our own family and social networks, such as higher levels of stress. And how do we best manage these interpersonal relationships? And this requires a paradigm shift, if you would consider, that we need to think of new ways of practicing our personal leadership so that we can protect our wellness, the well-being of our families, and the success of our business relationships and professional life. Now, I'll mention more about these aspects shortly. So what does VUCA look like in managing our leadership in these uncertain times? So let's take a look at VUCA from a leadership lens. Bob Johansen, a fellow at the Institute for the Future, proposed a counter response for effective leadership in a VUCA context, wherein we practice vision, or the ability to communicate a clear intent of the future, to gain a deeper sense of understanding that requires our ability to stop, look, and listen. That requires courage, or our ability to simplify and make sense out of chaos in order to make bold moves. And very importantly, adaptability, that we facilitate and enable a proper flow of communication that enables agile decision making and action. So in order to put into practice this VUCA paradigm of leadership, we need to understand and practice our emotional intelligence with great intention. So let's take a view of a video produced by Harvard Business Review on this topic. Just give it a minute to load up. Okay, so we are having some difficulties with our video, so our apologies for this. Let us try to reconnect again. You just give us a minute. We will get this rectified. This is the typical click and pray that happens when we do and use this technology. So give us just a moment. All right, let's see what we can do here. Hold on for just a moment. All right. No, but can you hold for just a moment, folks? Let me see where we can get to back into the meeting. And we apologize for this. All I'm trying to do now is to get back to the presentation, and we can go from there. So just for just a moment.
And you tell us when you're ready, Dr. Albizu.
Yes.
Just want to mention that we have 65 participants, 66 right now, which is awesome. I mean, taking time for your lunch break and joining us for this special presentation. We'll be having more of these presentations in the Thursday to come. And let me give you an update on what we're going to be touching. I mentioned earlier that these presentations are going to be of diverse nature from different perspectives and so forth. Let me know, Dr. Albizu, so I can stop talking, okay? So I just want to let you know that next Thursday, we have a professional that have tremendous international experience working with different businesses, which, by the way, he has been a guest speaker one of my lectures in one of my classes, and the students were so fascinated. This was a Saturday class with 4 hours, by the way, and the students were so fascinated that after the 4 hours, they stayed and 35, 45 more minutes after class chat specifically about this. And it had to do with the World Bank and the set of indicators that they're using to fund different initiatives in different countries. Those indicators could be used as a guide to focus on develop alternative investment strategies in different parts of the world. Obviously, those sets of statistics were collected prior to COVID-19. After COVID-19, we have to see what happens, but nevertheless, the approach is very insightful, and is I think it can benefit many small businesses, large businesses, business entrepreneurs that would like to explore new alternatives in different parts of the globe. We have 68 participants. That's wonderful. Let me see what we have here. We have I'm getting different questions and different messages from different people. Pardon for these technological challenges that we are facing. Dr. Albizu, don't you think that maybe if we just share with them the content of the video, we can move forward with your presentation? Is everybody connected?
Just call in again if you have to.
Yes, good afternoon. I am so sorry about this technical issue that arose with the video and reconnecting. At this point, I am having a reboot of the computer. I am very sorry. I don't know, Jorge, can you see the presentation on your side? Because you cannot. Okay, so the issue was that something happened along the way when we started the video that interfered with the functioning of the computer. So it's rebooting right at this moment. So let me go ahead and see how I can get in here really quickly. And then we can continue with the meeting.
Well,
now, can you see the screen? Can you see my screen, Jorge?
No, we cannot. We cannot.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what else. What other alternative we have? This is an unfortunate occurrence, but
yes. I mean, Dr.
This is
Albizu,
an unfortunate occurrence, and I'm just trying to pull up. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm reading some of the comments, and they're saying that maybe we can share the content of the video, but then you can share the link of the video with attendees later after the presentation is over.
Yes, and I'm just trying to, yes. And so what I'm trying to do, Jorge, is to rejoin the Zoom meeting so that the slides can be up on the computer.
Understood.
Millie, if we can find someone else to share their screen with me,
you got it.
Great.
You're on. You're on.
Okay, so if you can just allow me to get, because I did not see it on my side, so we're going to have to work together to get through this, you guys, because for some reason I lost all connection. If Millie will man the slide presentation, we'll just go and I'll let you know when to proceed to the next slide. Does that work for you?
That works great, Teresa. You just let me know where to go to.
Okay, so right now, we should be on slide, I'm so sorry. on slide 9. Okay, are we on slide 9? Jorge, can you hear me?
Slide
Yes, I
9.
can hear you. Yes, slide 9, tridimensional leadership.
Okay, very good. Sorry about that. All righty. So now the video that we missed out, and we'll share the link with you, and we're sorry for this technical difficulty, but let's move forward. This is why it's so important to have good emotional intelligence and overcome obstacles. So thank you for your patience. The video from Harvard Business Review makes a point about why emotional intelligence is so important in the business world. However, as we proceed to expand on this topic, what we want you to consider is that emotional intelligence is important beyond our professional roles. So in fact, our three-dimensional leadership model proposes that leadership is a life skill, not just a business skill. And therefore, it is important that we learn to practice leadership and emotional intelligence for our own self-development, and embrace that leadership is first and foremost self-development. So as leaders in all areas of our lives, we can only serve to the extent that we are strong, possess a high level of personal wellness in mind and body, and that we're able to master to the best of our abilities emotional intelligence strategies that have been shown effective in human relations. Now, number 2, we all hold a very important leadership position within our families and social networks. And I will venture to say that one of the most important leadership roles that we play is in our intimate relationships with our loved ones as parents, with our extended family and social networks. So how we model behaviors and inspire others in our personal lives serves as an excellent predictor as to how we behave in our respective workplace environments. And number 3, both emotional intelligence and leadership are critical in building and maintaining relationships and influencing others. And these are skills that will be helpful to us all throughout our lives. So we can proceed to the next slide. As we proceed to discuss the components of emotional intelligence, please consider each step of the way how to apply, practice, and model those actions and behaviors that we are sharing here with you for your own self-development on behalf of your family's well-being and in achieving success in your professional life. So let's move on to the next slide. Now, the term emotional intelligence was first coined by researchers Peter Salovey and John Mayer, but the concept was popularized by Daniel Goleman. Now, for the sake of reviewing the definition of emotional intelligence, let's say that it's the ability to understand, use, and manage our own emotions in positive ways, enabling us to recognize and be cognizant of the emotions and feelings of others in order to influence and enjoy positive relationships, both at the personal level and at the professional level as well. Next slide. Now, emotional intelligence is important because it helps us identify the best ways to relieve stress and anxiety, communicate more effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and manage conflict. And it would be important to remember that these are times when your family and team are using you as an emotional thermostat, and that the manner in which you are dealing with changes, stressors, and decision-making directly impacts them for better or for worse. This is why it is so important to pay close attention to what we earlier described as VUCA on leadership, meaning this is the time to focus and share your vision, understanding, courage, and adaptability. And when you do this, you're in essence providing your family and your team members with encouragement and optimism while promoting a family and workplace culture of support and motivation. So in essence, you're providing a perceived sense of stability and control in the VUCA environment that we are currently engaged in. So let's move on to slide 13. And I hope that you're all seeing slide 13. So what are the types of things and behaviors that we are trying to safeguard ourselves from when we practice emotional intelligence? We need to guard ourselves from feelings of victimization and blaming, uncontrolled gossip, misinformation, not facilitating the input and contribution of others for problem resolution, preventing the ability for family to be heard, understood, and appreciated, marginalizing others, even engaging in some bullying behaviors, and so on and so forth. And my guess is that we can all grasp how this can be a recipe for mistrust, right? Lack of loyalty, sadness, even resentment, and many other feelings and emotions that are negative and that impact and result how we behave. And those behaviors negative behaviors can sabotage everyone's wellness and success. So let's go on to slide 14. And here we have a question for you. Can stress kill you? Is it true or false? And if you can enter your responses. You have just 15 seconds to enter your responses. Can stress kill you? Do we have the results of the poll? Do we have the results of the poll, Millie or Jorge?
Yes, they're up. Everybody said it can kill you. 36 people, 100%.
Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Because according to Hans Selye, a renowned endocrinologist who first coined the term stress, the correct answer is false. Stress does not kill us. What kills us is our reaction to stress. So let's proceed to the next slide, number 16. Earlier in the webinar, I did mention that a first step to improving emotional intelligence is to learn how to manage stress. However, this topic of stress merits its own space and time, so allow me to share just some initial thoughts about this. We know that uncontrolled emotions and stress impact our mental health. Therefore, when we are unable to understand, get comfortable with, or manage our emotions well, we will also find ourselves struggling in our personal relationships with others. And when this happens, it creates feelings of loneliness and isolation, even guilt, that worsen our stress levels and our mental health, and hence our ability to cope with work and relate well with others. So you probably can assess how this can easily evolve into a vicious cycle. So me, I just want to make sure that we are on slide 16. So please remember this acronym, E plus R equals O. So for every event that we are facing, there is a response that we choose that influences its outcome. So we can control the event, right? Such as COVID-19, but we can always control our response to it. So when faced with an issue, event, or situation, if we respond without giving it some reflection, it typically produces one of the reactions that we have placed in like autopilot in our brains. And this is where our reptilian brain kickstarts our fight, flight, or freeze response, which worsens our levels of stress, resulting in a higher likelihood that we will not choose a proper way to respond to seek a positive resolution. But the good news is that the opposite is true. when faced with an event and we take a moment deliberately and intentionally to consider our emotions, understand our feelings and where the other person is coming from, then we can consider effective response strategies and increase the likelihood of the desired outcome. And I really hope that this makes sense to you. And probably some of you are even thinking, well, yeah, this is common sense, right? But the problem with common sense is that it is not so commonly practiced, unfortunately. Knowing it's not sufficient to make an impact. What makes the difference is taking action. So let's move on to slide 17. Let us review the 5 components of emotional intelligence. And keep in mind that the first 3 components are internal and the last 2 are interpersonal, and this is key to this process. So the first component of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, and self-awareness is the ability to understand and interpret your own moods, emotions, and inner drives, and how these impact you and other people. This is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. And the other components of EQ depend on how well we practice self-awareness. So it is important to remember that we're experiencing emotions all the time. So the question we must ask ourselves is, how aware am I of my emotions and their impact on how I behave and relate with others? Now, in general, self-aware people tend to be more confident and creative and tend to make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and communicate more effectively. Let's move on to slide 18. And here, what we're sharing is actions to improve self-awareness. As we begin to engage in the deliberate practice of self-awareness, the main point is how to connect with your core emotions, understand where they're coming from, and accept them, no matter how uncomfortable they may feel at the time. Because without this clear self-awareness, we cannot do anything about it. And one way of enhancing self-awareness is through the practice of mindfulness, which is the practice of focusing your attention on the present moment without judgment. As we become better at recognizing the emotions that we are experiencing and the why behind those emotions, then we can decide what we can do to better manage our behavior, which leads us to the second component of emotional intelligence, self-regulation, and that's slide 19. Self-regulation is the ability to control and redirect impulsive actions and emotions that negatively impact personal growth. In other words, once we are aware of our emotions, we can begin to manage them and keep the disruptive emotion and impulses under control, which, for example, allows us to rise above petty arguments and frustration. So those with a high, strong sense of self-regulation show trustworthiness, integrity, are open to change, and willing to accept the discomfort of ambiguity and uncertainty, which are real conditions of a VUCA world. So in short, they think before they act and typically do not make impulsive decisions. Now let's move to slide 20 and let's share some actions to improve self-regulation. When we practice self-regulation well, we are able to pause and take a deep breath in tense and stressful situations, which helps us to remain calm and think before we speak or act. One of the things I want to emphasize is not to underestimate the power of deep breathing, which is sometimes called also belly breathing. So for example, in situations of anger or frustration, taking a deep breath, slowly inhaling through your nose, holding it for 3 or 4 seconds, and then slowly exhaling through your mouth for 6 to 10 seconds so that the exhalation is longer than the inhalation. This helps to calm the more primitive areas of the brain that are not under our conscious or voluntary control. So for example, Deep breathing helps to lower respiration rate and blood rate, heart rate, the release of hormones and chemicals that are unconsciously produced when we are excited or stressed. So in slide 21, we're going to talk about motivation. This is your passion and enthusiasm for your work beyond position, status, or income. At the personal level, it is the force that drives you to do things and to keep going even in the face of setbacks. Now, according to Daniel Goleman, there are 4 elements that make up motivation. Personal drive to achieve, which is the drive to improve or meet certain standards. Number 2, commitment to personal or organizational goals. Number 3, initiative, which he defined as readiness to act on opportunities. And in everything that we face, folks, we need to figure out what the opportunity is. Where does the opportunity lie in this challenge of setback that we are experiencing? And number 4, optimism, the ability to keep going and pursue goals in the face of setbacks. So slide 22 shows you some actions to improve motivation. As it relates to emotional intelligence, motivation plays an important role within our ability to understand ourselves, relate to others, and succeed in reaching our goals. And this requires that we pay close attention to what we really enjoy doing, right? Personally and professionally. In other words, the things that bring us joy and fulfillment, including how to reframe and think about those aspects of work and life that we don't particularly appreciate. So when you engage in these suggested actions, you build up your sense of optimism and your ability to move past failure. So you are building resiliency to better manage situations of perceived failure. Now we need to remember that we have the ability to choose what meaning we give to certain experiences in life, including the challenging ones, and also learn to postpone immediate results for the sake of long-term success. And this is what serves to inspire and motivate others. In martial arts, we would call this practicing a non-defeatist attitude. So in slide number 23, we are going to address empathy. And empathy is the ability to understand and respect the emotions of others. Now, people with empathy are really good at treating others with courtesy, respect, kindness, and professionalism. Put in another way, empathy is about identifying what others feel, sharing in this emotion, and wishing to improve their experience for the better. So this is not just about how you would feel in their situation, but rather gaining an understanding of how they actually feel. And by the way, this does not mean that empathic individuals cannot give others difficult feedback. In fact, they may be better at delivering this tough love or difficult news because they understand the other person and want to help them improve. So when we go to slide 24, we share some actions to improve empathy. So as you review them, focus on developing your ability to identify and understand the feelings, needs, and viewpoints of others. Give me a moment here because I just got interrupted by a text. My apologies. Okay. So we need to identify and understand the feelings, needs, and viewpoints of those around you, at home and at work. Now, this requires that we learn how to practice active listening and that we avoid judging others too quickly prior to gaining an in-depth understanding of where they're coming from. And research shows that empathic leaders are skilled at selecting and retaining high-performance employees. And at the personal level, just think or imagine how practicing empathy can improve the quality of your family relationships. There is truth in the saying that we should treat others the way that we want them to treat us. Now, when we go to slide 25, we're going to be talking about social skills, and this is the last component of emotional intelligence. This includes practicing influence, conflict management, teamwork, and the ability to inspire others to accomplish extraordinary things, including within our family system. We must recognize that it is through our social skills that we are able to maintain healthy relationships in all parts of life. And this requires that we learn and practice effective communication skills. So I want to go now to slide 26 to share another poll question. What % of verbal communication is understood solely based on the words spoken? Is it A, 55 to 70%, B, 78 to 85%, C, 35 to 45%, or D, 7 to 30%? And you please enter your answers. We'll give you 15 seconds to do that. And then Millie or Maria can come back and share with us the results. Think about that. What % of verbal communication is understood solely based on the words spoken? Let us know when you're ready.
Okay,
with the results.
Teresa, 15 people answered 30%. And then 3 people answered 13%, and 5 people answered 45%.
Okay, so let's move on to slide 27, please. Now the correct answer is D, 7 to 30%. That's amazing, because in this slide, let me clarify this. I am showing the lowest levels identified through research so that they add up to 100%. Although in reality, these are not absolute numbers, they are ranges. But the point that we want to make is that we must learn effective communication skills, because most of what we know about communication has been learned through modeling. And most individuals do not participate in formal communication skills training. So remember that our ancient ancestors learned to communicate through sounds and gestures before language was invented. So what is significant about these numbers is the importance of becoming aware of how effectively we use nonverbal communication. It's impossible to avoid sending nonverbal messages to others about what you think and feel. It's hardwired in our DNA. Our faces in particular have an impressive network of muscles that help you to convey, without using words, your emotions, as well as read other people's emotional intent. And please be aware that the emotional part of one's brain is always on. It doesn't rest. And even when you ignore those messages, others won't. They're always looking. We're always looking at each other and trying to read meaning, gain meaning through your nonverbal communication. So recognizing the nonverbal messages that one sends to others can play a huge part in improving our relationships. Now, let's go to slide number 28, and let's talk about some actions to improve social skills. In general, those individuals with good social skills want to see others succeed, which means that we don't tend to put our own needs ahead of the needs of others. Meaning ahead over the needs of our family or team members. And I say tend to, because those who possess good social skills are also able to protect their own well-being as needed, relying precisely on their self-regulation and empathy. So let's switch gears here and go to slide 29. Because no conversation about emotional intelligence will be complete if we don't address the importance of mindset. Let's go to slide 30. Now, here what we see is that Dr. Carol Dweck, who is a professor of psychology at Stanford University and one of the world's leading researchers on motivation and mindset, focused her work for many years on why people succeed And how is it possible to foster success, even in the face of challenges, serious challenge and obstacles? And she wrote a book, Mindset, The Psychology of Success, which I highly recommend because it addresses how our mindset impacts all areas of our life, not just our professional or business success. Now, on slide number 31, I am showing you a comparison of what she coined fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Those with a fixed mindset, according to Dr. Dweck, believe that talent is ingrained and that we cannot change our level or ability. This view assumes that our character, intelligence, and creative ability are static givens that we cannot change in any meaningful way. So individuals with a fixed mindset find themselves constantly measuring up against fixed standards based on their belief that their qualities are kind of like carved in stone, so to speak. Now, in contrast, those with a growth mindset believe that they can improve their skills through hard work and effort. In other words, these individuals tend to achieve more because they worry less about appearances or the need of appearing to be intelligent. And they invest more energy into learning new things. And we should really take a pause here and understand that everything good and worthwhile in life takes effort and energy. It really doesn't come to us through a sprinkle of pixie dust. So embracing lifelong learning with effort and energy makes a huge difference in our lives and the lives of those around us. And I should also mention that there is plenty of research to support that emotional intelligence serves as the foundation of people and relationship skills, what we used to refer to as the soft skills. You know how in business education, we talk a lot about the hard skills and the numbers in accounting and models in finance, things like that. But we forget about the soft skills. And emotional intelligence clearly serves as the foundation for the soft skills, for your personal relationship skills. Now, when a growth mindset and emotional intelligence are paired together, they have the power to unlock incredible potential in people, connecting them with their purpose and passion in life for their growth and development. And this applies to everyone in the spectrum of life, including children, and especially children, as we show them that the beauty in learning is investing effort in trying to learn and figure out whatever is the problem or whatever is it that they are learning. Now, imagine for a moment how much more family and business could really thrive if we were to deliberately practice both emotional intelligence and a growth mindset. So with practice, you'll find this combination to be extremely rewarding, really, really mind-boggling. So last slide here, let's wrap up and review some takeaways. So increasing your emotional intelligence skills takes time and practice, and it is a deliberate and intentional process. When we use it as the foundation for practicing a growth mindset, the results that you will achieve personally and professionally can be nothing but short of extraordinary. And a key to this effort is to be mindful of the need to unlearn old emotional patterns and learn new ones. So we must make an effort to practice our emotional intelligence strategies to nurture our growth mindset. And always remember, nothing is perfect. So, and frankly, especially human beings. So when we do not do as well as we had hoped with the strategies that we have implemented, we need to review, reflect, and learn from identified mistakes or shortfalls, and then move forward. And everyone, during these unprecedented times that we're all experiencing together, this is the time to be more focused on yourself, on your family, on your team. Decide to be a leader, an inspiration, a source of strength and hope for them. And finally, regardless of how much knowledge we think we possess, please remember that love reaches beyond knowledge. So if we could move to slide 33, I'd like to share with you this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be, and the choice is yours. So we can now move to the last slide, and let's open up the discussion for questions and comments. And thank you for participating with us today. A todos, muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Albizu. Thank you. This was a great presentation. A lot of take-backs that we are gathering, and you know, not just. I mean, I was listening to you, and I was reading, you know, some of the slides, and then listening to your explanations and examples, and I truly feel that there is more to. That there is something that I can really put in practice, like right away. No?
Exactly.
So let's open up. We have a few more minutes. We can take a few questions. Can you join me on the screen? I don't know if you can do that.
So Jorge, I would do my best. I had lost my connectivity, so okay. I will try to do so. But if I'm not able, I am here with you. Okay.
So there's a question is when you were talking about fixed mindsets and growth mindsets, the question is, can they overlap?
Well, that's a great question, because actually no one is either a fixed mindset, has a fixed mindset, or only a growth mindset, right? We tend to fluctuate from one to the other. And the idea is that when we recognize that we are engaging in a fixed mindset response, right, or that we're behaving from a place of the fixed mindset perspective, that we take notice of that. That's where emotional intelligence comes in, our self-awareness kicks in. We self-regulate and decide we're going to focus on the growth mindset. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
The second question is, how can we, during these stressful times, how can we motivate our employees to still keep up with the productivity? Having said that, you indicated that this is the time to focus on family, on our teamwork, on our networks. So what kind of advice can you provide in order to base on emotional intelligence, and how can we remain productive during these stressful times?
So I really believe that these are times where maintaining clear communication makes a huge difference to everyone, including within our family systems and at work. I think people feel more secure, even in moments of uncertainty, when we're all on the same page as to how we're going to move forward, how we're going to adapt, what is it that we want to achieve in the short term versus the long term, and involve people in those decisions, right? The best way to motivate people is to make them part of the plan, not to just dictate this is how we're going to move forward, this is what we're going to do, but rather that we listen with some intention as to what their opinions are and their perspectives are, including their fears, right? As a leader, one of the best things that we do is when we hear people bring moments of or situations of concern or fear, that we're able to discuss them and make sense of them together. And that brings people together to want to accomplish common goals.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you. And I want to say that what I was paying attention to your presentation and reading the slides, I was practicing some of the breathing techniques that you shared with us to calm my most primitive part of my brain in order to relax and to really focus, no? To really focus and become more productive. There's a question, they're asking us if we can go over slide 29 again. We have a few minutes.
Okay.
Takeaways. Is that it? Is that
slide 29? You have to show the number at the bottom, Jorge, because otherwise I am not clear what the slide is, because I don't see the whole slide on the board.
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. Millie, do you?
Okay, so this is slide 29. How successful people think. Okay. So the question is?
They want you to go over that slide a little more.
Okay, so really, I think that what you should do is move to slide 30, because this is where we see the comparison of fixed mindset and growth mindset. And what we're talking here is that, I'm sorry, slide 31, if you would. If you can go to slide 31. That's where we're going to see the comparison. What we are talking here, what Dr. Dweck found, and believe it or not, most of her research and the beginning of her research was done with children, right? So the idea was, why is it that when children are given very difficult tasks, some give up very quickly versus others who actually engage and enjoy figuring out, you know, for example, a puzzle, right? So in one of her exercises, she gave kids an easy puzzle to do. And then after that, the presentation was, okay, you can do the easy puzzle again, or you can have this more complex puzzle to solve. And those children who chose the most complex puzzle to solve were the children that were progressing academically at higher rates than the kids that did not want to move on to the more complex tasks. So how does that apply to us? The important thing is that we need to continue learning, right? Figuring out things every time that we are faced with an obstacle. In the workplace, we cannot know everything about everything, right? So we need to rely on each other as resources for learning, that we're able to seek support and be able to say, okay, I don't understand this. I'm not sure how to complete this task. I need some help to get this done. That is an example of growth mindset. A fixed mindset person would probably just stay quiet and be kind of like stressed trying to figure out how the heck do I get this done, but I don't want to look dumb, so I'm not going to ask for assistance. Does that make sense? So looking forward to finding the resolution, even when the resolution does not lie entirely on you, it relies on your ability to go ask for assistance or learn new skills to be able to do the task well.
Thank you, Dr. Albizu. I think that's all the time that we have for now. I just want to, start with my closing remarks. To start thanking once again for this partnership, which is the partnership between FIU and Camacol. That is the platform upon which we are able to deliver these webinars to you through the Launch and Learn series. I want to also thank our team, the FIU Continuing Education team, Mrs. Sharima Smith, Millie Maldonado, and Mrs. Danai Barata for the support, the professionalism in putting this together. Also, I want to thank our supervisors, our AVP, Mrs. Ponce, and Dr. Susan Kimber for giving us the flexibility to partner with Camacol and move forward to offer this series of webinars to our community. I remind you to please kindly don't forget to fill up the survey at the end of this this webinar, because we need that feedback from you. It's very important to us. Also, I want to remind you that we have another spectacular speaker with a very interesting topic next at noon, which is called the webinar is called the World Bank Doing Business Indicators, which I mentioned to you earlier that it was I had them coming to present at one of my lectures, and the students were fascinated with it. Dr. Albizu, do you want to close our webinar session with? Any words?
Yeah, so thank you, Jorge, for the opportunity to collaborate with you, with your team, with FIU. Thank you to Kamacol again for partnering and making this possible. I want to just say, listen, we're facing some very unprecedented times, and they're very difficult. Nobody's saying that this is easy. And these strategies that I share with you, which, by the way, when you answer the survey that FIU is requesting you to answer, perhaps, Jorge, what we can do is prepare like a summary of the presentation in a document format and send that out to those folks that complete the survey. And that way they have some of this information, especially the suggested actions, for them to refer to. But this is the time to listen to everyone around you, understand where people are coming from, recognize when you are feeling symptoms of stress, of anger, of frustration, taking a moment to step back, see where that is coming from so you can make sense of it, because how you behave and how you're feeling impacts how you relate to others, right? So please practice your emotional intelligence and your growth mindset. You're going to find that it brings you extraordinary rewards.
Thank you, Dr. Albizu. Once again, we will have the link of this video, this webinar that was recorded available to you. Please answer that survey, and also we'll be able to share the presentation with you as well. Thank you very much. Until next Thursday. This is FIU Continuing Education. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.